The next biomacromolecule we are going to study is proteins. We are going to understand its classification and the basic outline. So, in basic outline what we are going to understand is that what actually a protein is being made up of, and what are its functions and how does it perform its functions, and secondly we are going to study the structural classification of the proteins. So, first of all we are going to come across the term proteins that was coined by G.J. Mulder. He coined the term proteins because it refers to the first thing in Greek language. This protein thing refers to something that comes first, and in reference to the living cells, proteins are the biomacromolecules which come first in the terms of their availability and their essentiality. Proteins are the building blocks, we know that, of the entire, we have studied in our younger classes that proteins are very important and proteins are the building block of the body. So, they are crucial. And what are the building blocks of proteins itself? Protein, you know, is a macromolecule and it is a polymer. So, when we talk about a polymer, we have to discuss that what are its monomers, and we come across the term amino acids. There are 20 essential amino acids which are required for the formation of proteins. The building blocks happen to be amino acids, and you know the structure of amino acids from your knowledge of chemistry, that there is an alpha carbon which is linked to an amine group and a carboxylic group, which makes it amino acid, that there is a presence of carboxylic group and there is presence of amine group as well, along with a hydrogen or an alkyl group that could be present. Now, due to the presence of this alkyl group that we are referring to as R over here, this alkyl group differs in each amino acid and it gives its characteristic properties to the amino acids, and whatever the characteristic properties of the amino acids would be, so would be of the protein. So, now these amino acids, which are the monomers of protein, they are joined to the next amino acid and the next amino acid by a covalent bond known as peptide bond. Now, what is this peptide bond? This peptide bond is basically a bond which is created between, it is a covalent bond of course, and it is a bond which is created between two adjoining amino acids in a polypeptide chain. So, here we come across a new term, that is polypeptide chain, or the polypeptide synthesis, the term that I am going to use. So, what is polypeptide? Polypeptide is the polymer of amino acids which is formed by a dehydration synthesis which leads to the formation of peptide bond. I am repeating it again, the polypeptide that we come across while understanding the structure of proteins is a polymer of amino acids which are joined to each other by a covalent bond known as peptide bond, which is formed as a result of dehydration synthesis that takes place between two amino acids. Now, supposedly this is our amino acid which is having amine group over here and a carboxylic group over here. The alkyl group could be present and there is another H which would be present. Along with this comes another amine group, the amino acid, and we have dehydration synthesis which has to take place, and over here there would be C, there would be COOH. Just to make you understand, I am telling you that we will have removal of water from here. Okay. Water molecule gets deducted, there is dehydration synthesis which takes place, and the bond formation that is between CONH. This bond that would be formed as a result of removal of water from these two amino acids would be known as a peptide bond. You just need to have a clear understanding that what a peptide bond would be, that water is formed, a water molecule gets removed as a result of interaction between the amine group and the carboxylic group of two adjacent amino acids, and the peptide bond formation takes place. Now, as much as we have discovered till now, the polypeptides which are formed include long chains, that is long chains of amino acids bound to each other by the peptide bond. On basis of the structural organization, the proteins are divided into 4 different structures, and just for your understanding and clearing one thing in the beginning itself, this classification is not in terms of structure, it is in the level of folding that the protein has undergone. I am repeating it again, that the level of folding that the polypeptide chain, which was the structural block of the protein, the polypeptide chain has undergone how much folding, that decides what the structure of the particular protein is. So we are going to have 4 different folding levels in the case of proteins, and we have primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure and quaternary structure. Supposedly we are seeing a protein, we first of all get to understand its basic structure by understanding the primary structure, which tells us the type, number and order of amino acids which would be present in the polypeptide chain. So the polypeptide chain could have 200 amino acids or more than that. So those number of amino acids, the type of amino acids, which gives a basic understanding that what the polypeptide chain is all about, would be studied under the primary structure of protein. So the structure that we get as a result of these 3 criteria would be the primary structure. Secondly, we have the secondary structure. Now, when these polypeptide chains, they interact with each other, there is a hydrogen bond formation which takes place, and it gives rise to the secondary structure, which could either be an alpha helix or it would be beta plated sheets. So we have to understand that the first molecule or the first protein that was studied, whose primary structure was studied, was insulin. It is it is a hormone, it acts as a hormone, pancreatic hormone, it is responsible for regulating the blood sugar in the human beings. So the first primary structure protein was insulin. The secondary structure that we get as a result of bonding of surface of molecules, bonding that takes place on the surface of molecules, because the functional groups which are exposed on the outer side, you've seen that the peptide bond formation took place between an amine group and a carboxylic group, and when these polypeptide chains have exposed functional groups on their surfaces, there is a probability of formation of either helix, alpha helix, or there could be formation of beta sheeted plates where the outer functional groups would be interacting as a result of hydrogen bonds. And then the third structure is the tertiary structure. Once this has been achieved, that you have alpha helix sort of structure like this, it would be a helical structure, you will have amino acids like these, and this helical coiling would be brought about by some bond which might have been formed as a result of interaction on the outer surface, whichever functional group is present, that would be the alpha helix. And in terms of beta plated sheets, we have 2 plates and there is a bonding between the 2 sheets and 2 plates basically. This is one polypeptide and this is one polypeptide, and because of the structures being exposed, there is a hydrogen bonding that take place, and this is this looks like the first one we discussed looked like the helix, so we named it alpha helix structure, and this one looks like a sheet, so we have beta plated sheets. Now what happens in the next level of folding of a protein is that these beta plated sheets, they would undergo some sort of torsion or twisting, like you're holding a wire supposedly in your hand. First of all, you coil it on your hand and give it a helical structure, and then you coil it further, that you get the 3-dimensional structure or after the torsion which has taken place. So the secondary proteins, these alpha helix and beta plated sheets, they would undergo some sort of torsion. Torsion is coiling on itself, and it would result to the formation of the tertiary structure, and this tertiary structure, it comes into being due to the additional bonds which are formed between the functional groups which are yet exposed in these structures. Okay, the functional groups which were still exposed in the structures that were secondary structure of the protein, they get to form some sort of bonds, such as, you know, there are disulfide bridges in the case of insulin and those particular proteins which have cysteine. Cysteine is an amino acid which contains sulfur in it. So if there are cysteine molecules which are present inside the protein is bound to show the tertiary structure, and over here the additional bonds which are formed like we discussed that the hydrogen bonds would be formed in the secondary structure. In the case of cysteine rich proteins, the tertiary structure is brought about by the disulfide bridges or the linkages that take place, and you just need to take it as an example. And one thing more that you need to learn in this tertiary structure is that this happens, these two states, tertiary or quaternary, mostly tertiary, they happen to be the native state of the protein. We will come to this term, but first of all let us understand, like there was in the case of tertiary that some torsion had taken place and brought the secondary structure to the tertiary being. Let us see what is there in quaternary structure. In the quaternary structure, there would be more than one polypeptide, as much as 38 polypeptide proteins have been discovered till now. So there would be one more polypeptide, not just one, I am sorry, pardon me. In the case of quaternary structure, there would be more than one polypeptide that would be present for the formation of the protein. It could be one, it could be two, and that would form the multi-unit protein. So this is the quaternary structure. So basically when we deal with the term native state that I just told you, this native state is the three-dimensional state, 3D state form where the protein actually, not where, in which form the protein actually functions. Now you know that proteins are part of amino acids, they are not amino acids, proteins are basically enzymes. When we say that all enzymes are proteins but all proteins are not enzymes, so we come to know that proteins are very much required in enzymatic activities, because enzymes are nothing else but proteins, and enzymes are the biological catalysts which are responsible for bringing about maximum changes, and they catalyze the maximum metabolic reactions. The speed of metabolism would not be the such as we see today if it was not to be catalyzed by enzymes. So we have the function of proteins. They act as enzymes which are biological catalysts. They act as antibodies, and antibodies are responsible for giving the immune characteristic to an organism. They act as antibodies, they act as hormones, and they have many diverse functions because they are basic root of the metabolic activities which a cell conducts. And now what we have to understand is denaturation of proteins. You know that proteins are highly specific. They are highly specific because of their three-dimensional structure or the tertiary structure. The tertiary structure enables the proteins to create sites, active sites, which make them highly specific. So we get to know that proteins are highly specific due to the structure that we have, that is the twisting structure that was caused by the torsion, and that was responsible for bringing specificity to the proteins, which enables the enzymes to be highly specific and catalyze the reactions. And when we talk about the structure, we have to take into consideration another term that is known as denaturation. What is denaturation? We did discuss about native state of the protein. Whenever any sort of heating is given, or the conditions which are not suitable for the protein formation and its functioning, it loses its native states and becomes denatured. That means the structure is lost, the bonds are broken and the protein gets denatured, and it cannot be brought back into its original condition for the further functioning. So this is all about, you need to know about proteins, that what are their building blocks, what is the polymer basically, how that polymer orients itself, what would be the orientation of the polymer according to the structural classification of the proteins.